This is Sports Talk with PlayerAgent3. A special guest today, man, is a Georgia Tech legend, the state of Georgia basketball legend, Mr. James Forrest. How you doing, good brother?
Hey, how you doing, bro? Thanks for having me, man. All is well. All is well.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on the show, man. You know what? When I think about James Forrest, I think about that iconic buzzer beater um, in the NCAA tournament. Um, but we'll dive into that later.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but the state of Georgia, man, you had a decorated high school career. Mr. Georgia multiple times, Mr. Georgia basketball multiple times, state championships, McDonald's All-American. Man, take me back to those golden years when you were in high school.
Wow, wow. Yeah, that's when as they call those now, the glory days. That's when that's when basketball was basketball. That's when as kids, we were playing the game of basketball for the fun, for the love of it. And when I look back on it now, being a coach and having my own youth program and coaching kids now and seeing the difference when we played, it was the camaraderie, it was authentic, it was love, it was pure. We were outside in the parks.
Right.
We were with our friends, our high school teammates, which we actually hung out during school, during practice, off of the court. And, we were literally building a bond in relationships that were going to turn out to be legendary. We didn't know we were making history or creating history for our high school. And the dynamics of that, like we had a lot of kids that were from that area that can play, but the brotherhood and the bonding that we had, it turned to be legendary because, my point guard is my best friend and my brother to this day, who was my point guard in high school.
Mm-hmm.
My power forward is still my brother to this day. My wing guy is still my guy. My high school teammates and I, we still talk to each other, but we just created history. And those were the glory days, man. We were just doing it. We didn't know we were creating history. We were just working our butts off and having fun playing the game that we were blessed to play. Mm-hmm. And 30 years later, we're still talking about the Southside Lasers and, the state championship. And, I was on my way to the Bahamas, my wife and I, about right after COVID. And we ran into a guy in the airport who told me he was at my state high school championship game down in Albany, Georgia, where it was 11,000 people in the Civic Center. And I think they only seated like 8,000 or something. Mm-hmm. And I remember people just sitting it was a fire hazard, but that was my biggest game ever. I had 55 and 22. Mm-hmm. We won that game. But just those memories, man, it's gratifying and humbling. Yeah.
What was recruiting like for you, and why did you choose Georgia Tech?
Recruiting, for me, everyone in the country recruited me. I was the number 3 player in the country coming out, behind Chris Webber and Glenn Robinson. So there's a few schools that I personally followed. I started going to Georgia Tech when I was 12 years old, 13 years old, hanging around Bruce Dalrymple and John Sally, Dwayne Farrell, Tom Hammond. I got an early jump on it because I actually would go play with those guys in the summertime at 13, 14 years old, which was getting my butt kicked, but I didn't know. I was just having fun, I was playing with Hammonds and Farrell. And those were monumental for me because it ended up helping me to become the player that I became, and why people used to consider me as a man child in high school, because I'm playing against college guys 13, 14. Well, 16, 17, there wasn't nobody in high school that really feared me, that I really feared coming out, because I had the experience. So it was real. It was different.
Mm-hmm.
It was different.
Mm-hmm. When you got to Georgia Tech, Tech was buzzing, coming off of, the departure of Kenny Anderson, going to the NBA. And, it wasn't long, when they were in the Final Four with the whole Lethal Weapon 3 thing. Did you feel any pressure when you got to Tech to try to keep that momentum going?
You know what's something so different, Miguel, is that I and this gets me in trouble. This gets me in trouble to this day, where my best friend and I, who coach kids now, if you talk to some people, they probably say we're the most arrogant pricks you will meet, and these guys think they know everything. It has nothing to do with that. But that question that you asked me right there, we looked for that type of pressure. Mm-hmm. When we came up, you understand, in high school, certain teams we played, we couldn't play in our high school gym because it wasn't big enough. And our high school held 2,000 people. But we would literally have to go to Georgia State, a Morehouse, or a Morris Brown to play high school, this particular high school here. And this is back in the early 90s. Mm-hmm. So for me, I always, in the big moments, I look for that. I look for that challenge. And I started watching Tech at 13. So I would watch Bruce Dalrymple, Sally, Mark Price, and those guys. And then with the Lethal Weapon 3 era, Dennis Scott was my big brother. So, at 15 years old, when he came to Tech, I'm hanging out with him. We're working summer jobs together. We're working out together. And I followed that. I'm going to all the games. I'm looking in the Thriller Dome, looking at the people coming in there and the fans and just the ACC. I wanted that. I embraced that. That's what I was looking for,
Yeah.
We wanted that same energy and we wanted that same pressure because, look, I was coming in as a McDonald's All-American. Travis Best was coming in as a McDonald's All-American. We couldn't let Coach Crimmins down. We it's levels, so we had to uphill with the bar that was set there. We had to keep that going, and I think we did a good job of it.
Yeah. And speaking on Travis Best, another heralded player coming out of high school, what was it like to play with him as a freshman, as well as share the spotlight with him, because he was a big time player coming out of Massachusetts. So what was that like for you?
Well, first of all, it couldn't be a spotlight on him or I, because we were coming there playing with two guys that just left the Final Four, which was Malcolm Mackey, Ivano Newbill. So we were young guys. These guys were juniors. So we had to come in there humble and fall in line. And like I said, we had to handle our business and take care of our role. Mm-hmm. So, because Travis, had to replace Kenny. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to replace Dennis, but I had to come in with a punch because they just lost 27 points out of D. Scott. So we just had to come in there and do our job. And Travis and I bonded well from the get-go because we played in the McDonald's All-American game together. So we were able to spend, about 10 days together and for that whole event up in Springfield, because it was actually in Springfield that year where he's from. So I got a chance to meet his family, brothers, sisters, and everybody. So, the relationship was already building. And then he came to Atlanta early before the season started. So we bonded and understood right away, what we had a job to do.
All right. So thinking back on when you were a freshman, what was it like for you the first time you stepped foot at Cameron Indoor Stadium, the first time you stepped foot at the Smith Center? What was that like for you?
Hey, man, very, very, once again, I was never afraid. But when you say it's such a surreal moment because, you see the Dukes on TV play, but then when you actually go to Cameron Indoor and you got fans throwing stuff at you, you got fans saying stuff to you. See, during that era, man, Cameron Indoor, Lil John Memorial at Clemson, those were the two worst in the ACC. Mm-hmm. Because Cameron Indoor, 2 years prior, I watched them throw Twinkies on the floor at Dennis. Because, they were throwing Twinkies on the floor at Dennis. I watched them do something similar to like when Rodney Wright. They were just different during that era. When we go to Clemson, the fans spat on Travis. He's taking the ball out of bounds, and one of the fans just spit on him. And the referee just won. He still counted. We like, I think we got a violation call or something behind that. But, it was a surreal moment. I never won in Cameron Indoor. Never won that. That's the only place in the ACC I never won.
Okay. You got guys like, you play with guys like John Barry, Malcolm Mackey, and Matt Geiger. Being that, the ACC is, the premier conference in America, normally year in and year out. How did those guys help you through a rugged ACC conference?
We were brothers. Those are still my guys. Anytime I see John, Malcolm and I still see each other in Tex. He actually came to my, I got inducted into the Tech Hall of Fame last year. He came to it. It's those guys were prepared because, like I said, Matt traveled and played on that Final Four team the year before. He didn't play, but he traveled. So he had that experience because he came in from Auburn. John played, so he had that experience coming in from a JUCO. And these were Rick Barry kids. So they, John and Drew, those guys are special in their own way. Drew is my brother. Drew and I are probably the closest because we played together. And Travis and I took him under our wings. Drew was a hell of a basketball player. You're talking about a high IQ. I get all the praises for winning the ACC tournament because I averaged what I averaged and got the MVP. That don't happen without Drew Barry. That doesn't happen without Martise Moore. You got real team support and everybody look at the big names like the Travis and the Malcolm. Nah, because we had to play Duke, Clemson, North Carolina. Duke was like number 1 or 5. Clemson was 9 and Carolina was 3 or 5, 3 or 4. We played 3 top 5 teams in 3-day period, 3 top 8, 9 teams in a 3-day period. And that's when we're talking about Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill, Cherokee Parks, Kristen Laettner. Then you're talking about your Eric Montrose, George Lynch, Derek Phelps, Donald Williams, Salvador. These are 7-footers. All these guys got drafted.
Yeah. Then
you go to Clemson, Chris Whitney, Bo Vane, Eric Gray, Sharon Wright, Wayne Buckingham. Man, it was no easy nights in the ACC during my era. Florida State, you got Sam Cassell, Bob Sir, Doug Edwards, Chris Dobar. Go ahead to Maryland. Go deal with No Ordinary Joe Smith, Evan Burns, Walt Williams, Exree Hicks.
Yeah, those are the golden years, man.
Hey, go to Virginia. Go with Corey Alexander.
Yeah.
Ryan Stiff, Junior Burroughs.
Harold Dean, man, a lot of those guys.
Wake Forest, we had to deal with Randolph Childress, Roto, Rodney Rogers, Chris King. The list just goes on. It was no easy nights in the ACC. You go to NC State, you had Goose.
Yeah.
Damn. It was tough, man. But that propelled us actually to just, I think that's why when, during that time when guys came out of the ACC, whether it was in the NBA or in Europe, you were able to go play a decade of basketball after, because it really, propelled you to really be great, and it was competition every single night.
So let's go to the iconic buzzer beater. Matter of fact, it was in the NCAA tournament, and I believe you guys were playing in Milwaukee. Was it? I think it was at the Bucks Arena.
Bradley Center.
Yeah, yes. Take me, if you can, take me through that whole sequence.
So the play wasn't even designed for me. The play was designed for John Barry first. If they helped on John, then Travis was the second option. And vice versa. Matt Geiger was taking the ball out. So his job was to get the ball to John or Travis. And then, whoever caught it, they knew to shoot it. Those were our best three-point shooters. Well, I saw where Harold, with Baby Jordan, where he was telling the guards up top to switch. He was saying, whatever happened, y'all just switch. And that's exactly what they did. When we ran the play, they switched. So I was on the bottom baseline and I heard him say it. So I'm looking at it and I'm also looking at the referee count. I was always aware of just the violation, just the 5 count, whether it's the free throw line, inbound of the ball. And we'd have no more timeouts. So I saw Matt really pump. And then he starts looking around, and once he did that, I just faked and broke to the ball, yelling, Matt, and he literally just dropped it off to me, and it was just literally a catch. And because we knew we only had like 0.8 seconds. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. It became one of the, to this day, still one of the greatest shots in NCAA history. Yeah. And that's what I was saying to you earlier. Man, we were just kids having fun, man.
Yeah, man.
It was just out of pure love and excitement of being a kid and being blessed to play the game we were gifted to play with.
All right. Yeah, sent you guys to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was so crazy, they had just announced prior to the game, the rookie, the ACC rookie to get, because I led all ACC rookie in scoring. And then Florida State had just gotten beat the first round. And then they gave it to Bob Sir, who averaged 2 points less than I did. I averaged 13 and a half. He averaged 11. Mm-hmm. And they gave it to him. And Bobby was like, yeah, he was so happy. But I was like, man, we won the game. Let's go.
Yeah, yes, sir. So it's no secret, man, that you had a great career at Georgia Tech, all ACC, all American, the points. But you were not drafted in the 1995 NBA draft. If you could go back to that time, what were you thinking and how did you process that entire situation?
Well, I knew I wasn't getting drafted. So what happened was, you'd probably be the first one to ever hear. Actually, you will be the first one to ever hear this story. I've never even told this story. Never been asked it. What happened was I hurt my Achilles during my senior year, and I got a cortisone shot in the back of my Achilles, and it's this thing behind your Achilles called your burst, called a burst sac, and it was right up under your Achilles. Well, at the time, no one ever said to me, that's the worst thing to do. You can't do that because you didn't understand cortisone shot, that it freezes that much, whatever, and then eventually you'll end up tearing it. And that's exactly what happened. So I played my entire senior year hurt. And I had if you go back and look at a lot of my senior year, you would see on my right leg that it looks like my ankle, like I'm wearing an ankle brace. That was actually something to protect my Achilles and to try to keep it in place, that they made a brace. The doctor made a brace, like an ankle brace, and created for my Achilles. And I played my whole senior year hurt. And when I got to Chicago, the NBA, to the pre-draft camp, I tell people this all the time. Listen, you can get away with whatever you think you can get away with from the teachers in college. The NBA, hey man, they do their investigation and they go through every kid when they get you and do a physical. Yeah, they told me to get down like a duck and walk like a duck. and they wanted me to get down and walk like 50 yards. Hey boy, I think I might have tore that thing 10 more percent.
I can imagine.
I think I was tearing it as I was down the floor walking. I knew I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I'm down there trying to, and I'm dragging this foot. And then I start seeing because the whole team is there. It was never about my talent, for me. A lot of people knew I was hurt. A lot of the scouts, they knew I was hurt, the GMs. And lo and behold, so they told me, okay, stop. I didn't even finish. They told me, okay, we need Brian Reeves, we need Mario Bennett, we need Kurt Thomas, we need Cherokee Parks, we need James Forrest, all to go with such and such to Cook County Hospital. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to Cook County Hospital for? Because all those guys that I named, Brian had something going on with his back. Kurt Thomas had screws in his foot. Mario Bennett had problems with his knees. Shit, both of his knees were still oozing at the combine. Like something was going on. So they made all of us go to Cook County to get MRIs. And when I got my MRI, came back that I had a partially torn Achilles, 30% partially torn Achilles. And they was like, when did you do this? And I said, man, I played my whole senior year like this. So they were like, what? So what happened? So then now everybody told my agent, so look, he gotta go get surgery. We not drafting him. We gotta go get surgery. And then what ended up happening, the lockout came. The lockout came. So the lockout came, and but prior to the lockout happening, I'll never forget draft. Now I knew I wasn't getting drafted, but a lot of my family, nobody else knew. And I remember when as soon as the draft went off, Jerry West called me. And Jerry West said, James Forrest, this is Jerry West from the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm one of the happiest, man. I'm glad you didn't get drafted. But we're gonna bring you out here to the summer league. I've always watched you like it. We're gonna bring you out here to the summer league. Go get that ankle looked at, and we got some of the best doctors, and we gonna woo. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I went and got in the shower, happy shit. I went to bed. And a couple of days later, I think the lockout happened. And then I went and got a couple of opinions, and everybody said, yeah, you need to get this done because eventually you'll pull it apart all the way. So, I was fortunate I didn't snap it all the way, but it was a 30% partial. So, that was, and then from that, I bounced back like in 9 months. In 10 months, I was in Sacramento Kings camp because the lockout wasn't that long that year in 95. I ended up going to the Sacramento Kings Summer League camp. And ended up getting a nice deal over in Europe out of that camp. I didn't even finish the camp. The team gave me a nice deal to go to Israel. It was a nice 6-figure deal. So I went right away, especially from coming from that type of surgery.
Yeah. So, and you had a pretty good career playing basketball in Europe. Did you ever, the time that you spent overseas, did you ever have in the back of your mind what could have been? You see all these guys that you played against in college, guys that you killed in college, getting these nice NBA contracts. Did that play on your mind throughout your career in Europe?
Never. Because listen, I'm the type of person, I like to see guys win, man. I like to see our guys successful. My guys successful. It doesn't matter what's in my deck may not be in yours.
Right.
So what God had got planned for me may not be for yours. The one thing that I realized when I had my surgery, man, I was just thankful to be able to play. Because that's all I knew how to do. And I just wanted, and then I made a promise that I would take it more serious, and I did. And the only reason, if I would have never, I had to come back to the state. I retired from playing at 33, and I had a lucrative deal on the table when I retired. And thank God, I had a great 12-year run in Europe, man. I met some tremendous people, played in some unbelievable countries, and have zero regrets.
Yeah.
Zero regrets, because I still have those relationships. I still have friends in each country that I played in. Man, you talk about my first year ever overseas was in '96. So, and I just try to educate my guys that I coach now, my guys that I send overseas now, and just letting them know, look, man, this thing is all about relationship. Look, you can't worry about what the next man getting.
Right.
Your grind ain't like the next man. Don't matter how much you think it is, it's not. Everybody grind not the same. So the result, you can't expect the results to be the same.
Right. Exactly. So you retired in 2005. What have you been up to since 2000?
I retired in 2006.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then in 2008, I started my own youth program, Team Forrest AAU basketball. I started that in 2008. And we've been doing it. I've been doing that ever since. We put over 100 kids in school. We gotten over $15 million worth of free scholarships for our student athletes. That's what I do now, and running through we run the James Forrest Scholastic and Sports Academy is our nonprofit organization. So we're doing that and helping kids, man, mentoring kids. Doing that in the city of Atlanta. Recently partnered up with them and sponsoring 500 underprivileged inner city kids and playing year-round basketball camps and that sort of thing. They're putting shoes on their feet, jackets on them, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Wanted to got a few more things to get to before I let you get out of here, but wanted to touch on this real quick. This whole HBCU movement with Deion Sanders, you got Kenny Anderson at Fisk, you got Chucky Brown at St. Augustine University. What do you think about this whole HBC movement, and do you think it'll stand?
Here's the thing, the reality of it. The problem I have that these guys don't have the same funding. These guys need funding, man. If these guys had funding, I guarantee you a Fisk University would be able to play anybody if Kenny can go get the kind of kids every other school can go get. Prime getting the kind of kids. What he's doing down there is ridiculous, but he's doing it with relationship, his money, and relationship. Everybody don't have prime relationship. I love the HBC component and student athletes doing that. The one thing that I caution the kids on, because I'm a big believer in this, man, especially in 2022, 23 coming up. It's hard for these babies to go to school. It's hard for them to be able to go to school and get a scholarship. What is important for our student athletes is to be able to go to the best university of their choice that they've worked so hard to go to, and to have the real college experience. Let these kids be able to eat the kind of good food and meals that they hear their friends eating. Let them be able to live and sleep in comfortable dorms. Let them be able to have the flat screen TVs like you got at all these other mid-majors. And you can't tell me that's not possible to give these guys funding.
Right.
And we not talking. Here's the crazy part. We're not talking about the 50, 60, 70, $100 million we giving that the mid-majors and the Power Fives are getting an endowment.
Mm-hmm.
Start off and give those guys, give everybody $15 million and see what they do to them.
Mm-hmm.
Help them. You know, it's commendable what these guys are doing, man. What pisses me off is that they don't get the support and help that they should get.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, guess what happens? You can only be down there for so long because if somebody comes and offer you quadruple what you're getting, like Dion, if this thing, for example, if just say he's making $500,000 at Jacksonville State, how is he gonna turn down $3 million to go coach somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
Do it.
Right.
Hard at the right place. You've done all you can do at Jackson, brother. But you just got to go do something else.
Right. Exactly right.
Whatever's Kenny's getting there. Think of a mid-major D1 come and say, "Hey, Kenny, man, we got this job for you at Florida Gulf Coast. Who knows? Anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, come get this $1 million a year." I mean, he has a family too. You know, he got to go and there's levels to it.
Exactly.
So I'm a big component of the HBCU. I support it wholeheartedly. I don't, you know, we had a kid at North Carolina A&T last year. We sent 2 kids to Miles College. You know, so we you know, they recruit our kids.
Mm-hmm. James, I'm gonna say a couple of names. I just want you to give me one word to describe, you know, these names I'm about to give you. Just one word. All right. Bobby Crimmins.
Life changing.
Travis Best.
Brother for life.
Kenny Anderson.
Legend, Georgia Tech legend.
All right, this one right here is gonna throw you off guard. The Atlanta Celtics.
Atlanta Celtic that's iconic.
Okay. All right. So
they got the most. Listen, they got the most. I mean, shit. That's where all the pros come out of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Carl McRae is a great. He's not a good guy. He's a great guy. Godfather this thing for us in Atlanta. He's probably the purest one in Atlanta. Pure.
I really appreciate you coming on the show, James. But real quick, before we get out of here, I want to give a shout out to the Georgia Tech family. And particularly, these guys have been on my show, have supported the show since its inception. Coach Crimmins, Coach Sherman Dillard, and Kenny Anderson. You know, those guys have been, big proponents of my show, and I appreciate those guys for coming on the show. You too as well. This is a dream come true. You know, growing up, I was an NC State fan, but you know, when Kenny Anderson came on the scene, you know, it kind of shifted my heart. When I was in 9th grade, I came down for the Georgia Tech basketball school. I came with Coach Darryl Robinson. So ever since then, I've followed Georgia Tech basketball. Do you have a social media handle where everybody can follow you doing right now?
Yes, absolutely. My IG is Team Forrest, FORREST _AAU. That's the same handle for our Twitter, Team Forrest _AAU. That's our IG and Twitter handle. Our website is teamforrest.net. That's our website.
All right.
ACC history. NC State, Derek Wittenberg. That's my big OG to this day. Still talk to D. Just talked to D. Witt last week. Rodney Monroe.
Yep.
That's my guy.
Man, both of those guys have been on the show, man. I appreciate those guys as well.
Yeah. But I appreciate anything I can do for you, brother. Hey, just let me know, man. Much success and continued success, brother. And keep doing what you do, man.
I appreciate it, man. Everybody, this is James Forrest on Sports Talk Player Agent 3. This is Sports Talk Player Agent 3. Sports Talk